Hi, and welcome to TTELT, Teaching Tips for English Language Teachers, a program of educators worldwide. I'm your host today, Melanie Gobert.
Hello, this is Melanie Gobert. I'm your host for today's episode of TTELT, Teaching Tips for English Language Teachers. Joining us today is Amel Benaissa from Mouloud Mammeri University in Algeria. She's going to be talking to us about teachers' self-regulation. First of all, Amel, what do you mean by teacher self-regulation?
Hello, everyone. So what I mean by teacher self-regulation, first, it's a very interesting topic to talk about because it is related to teachers' development, teachers' professional and also personal development. It means all the skills and the techniques that teachers have in order to manage their thoughts, to manage their emotions, but also to manage their behavior and actions. And we often believe that teachers should be only good at, for example, mastering content related to what they teach. They also should be effective at using instructional strategies, but we don't talk often about the teacher's well-being and also the teacher's sense of agency. And this is basically what self-regulation means. It really means giving importance to having a holistic approach and giving importance to all the different aspects, including emotions, thinking, and behavior, which can really help teachers grow both professionally and personally, if I have to give a general definition. And,
okay, and
now...
why must... Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And now, as I said, it's about really managing or having the ability to manage thoughts in general, or in other words, the cognitive aspect, like, for example, knowing when, where to direct our attention, how to think effectively. When it comes to the emotional aspect, both negative, knowing how to be aware, but also to acknowledge negative and positive emotions that come from, for example, the work overload, and when our job as teachers can be really overwhelming, so we can have to deal with negative feelings of stress, of anxiety, and it's really about knowing how to regulate our feelings, especially the negative ones. Now, when it comes to action, it is about knowing, for example, how to organize ourselves, knowing how to set long-term goals, short-term goals, also knowing how to reflect and think about our current practices and knowing how to evaluate ourselves. So basically, this is what self-regulation means.
Okay, now, why do teachers need to regulate their emotions? Why do they need time management? And why do they need professional development?
Well, I think it is very important for them to have an easy experience as teachers, both in the classroom, but also with their colleagues. It's very important for them to be proactive and to not just be experiencing the pressure that they undergo in the workplace, but they should also know how to use the effective tactics in order to deal with such a pressure, as I said, both in the classroom but also outside the classroom. And generally speaking, teachers who are good at regulating themselves, they're also their emotions and thoughts, they are also good at, for example, solving problems, classroom-related problems, but also solving problems with colleagues, like when they have an issue with a colleague, instead of just avoiding it altogether, they are good at, for example, using communication skills, at collaborating with others, and at solving the actual problems. So self-regulation, we can say it can lead to successful accomplishments. And by extension, the aim, the end goal should also be to increase learners' outcomes. And learners usually like to mimic their teachers. So when they see that their teachers are really good at, for example, planning lessons, they are really good at organizing their lessons, they are also good communicators, they can be inspired by their teachers because they see them as role models. So it's very important for teachers to show an image of someone who is not perfect, is not a perfect human being, but is someone who knows how to deal with problems and how to overcome them. So generally, I think this is really what makes self-regulation important, because it is part of the growth mindset. It helps teachers become better and move forward instead of having the fixed mindset of just complaining about other problems. It's about finding solutions in general. So yeah, this is why I think that self-regulation is important. It's about being responsible. It's about increasing responsibility, and it's also related to self-efficacy. And usually, it is related to being to having a good sense of or to believing in our own ability to really solve problems. So this is why I think self-regulation is important.
Okay, well, you're mentioning things like teachers learning how to self-regulate their emotions, not be too negative. They also need to learn skills like time management, and professional development has a role to play in this. So obviously what we're talking about here is teacher burnout, how to prevent teacher burnout. Well,
Yes.
how can teachers learn these skills? For example, to regulate your emotions. I mean, I would think people, grew up learning how to regulate their emotions.
Yes, that's what we all like to believe, that it happens naturally, it happens effortlessly, but sometimes it doesn't, and we have to work on our emotions. And the problem with most teachers, at least from my personal experience and what I have witnessed with many of my colleagues, is that we have this pressure of showing that we are perfect, that we are really always strong and resilient. But in reality, we should really take the time to work on ourselves. I think that it is important for teachers to work on themselves as human beings before being good teachers. They need to be strong, resilient teachers, especially emotionally. We are too caught up in the pressure of designing good lessons, of designing effective tests, of following the program, but sometimes we don't take the necessary time to just be in tune with our emotions, to reflect on how we feel about our job as teachers, about our relationship with students, and to really try to get to the bottom of the issue, and to really try to understand, for example, when we feel frustrated, why do we feel frustrated? Where does this feeling come from? We need to really take time to value this aspect, because this is really what drives us and what motivates us to work. And yeah, so some of the techniques that we can use, as I said, is well, I said that we should devote time to just being in tune with our feelings, and this can happen through self-reflection, meditation as well, taking a time to press pause for a while, like every day maybe, or we can select a schedule that works for us and just stop and let our brain take a rest for a while. And just it's also a good exercise to help us control our mind, because sometimes we have really monkey minds that are out of control, and it can be difficult to tame our mind. So it's good to devote at least 10 to 12 minutes to meditation, to deep breathing, Journaling can also be an interesting technique. This is especially for when we really, there is something that is bothering us, that is something that is weighing on us, and we need to let it out. So writing about it can be a good technique. Another one would be having a conversation, a good conversation with a trusted colleague or friend about the emotional pressure that we are going through as teachers. And really these techniques, I think, can help us understand ourselves and understand our feelings and be easier on ourselves when we go through them, instead of not only having negative feelings about the pressure or about our relationship with our colleagues, but also feeling guilty about feeling bad. So this can add an extra layer of stress and anxiety when we don't take time to press pause and feel and acknowledge such feelings. So yeah, I think this is for if we, as I said, have a hard time controlling our emotions. Now, if we have a hard time controlling maybe our environment, and there are some external factors that we cannot really control, but we can manage. We can try to alleviate the pressure that we go through. Like, for example, if we have a program that is difficult to complete during the semester, it's important to have long-term and short-term goals. It's also important to have like a specific a schedule that will help us go through the program. Like, this is what I will do during the first week. This is what I will do during the second and the third week. So taking time to plan our lessons, but not only plan our lessons, but plan the way we plan our lessons, because self-regulation is about metacognition, or cognition about cognition, or thinking about the way we are going to proceed when organizing our lessons, and also when going through the process of teaching and testing. So it's good to have like at least a sense. It helps us, like planning can help us have a sense of control over what we are going to do and what to anticipate. And this is what can really help make our job as teachers easier. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Amel, for your advice about teacher self-regulation.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining
inviting
us
me.
on today's podcast. Okay,
Thank
this has
you.
been Melanie
Thank you for
Gobert, your
having me.
host for today's episode of TTELT. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. Share with us how you are using these tips. Leave us a comment or voice message on social media or at ttelt.org. Thanks for joining this episode of TTELT, brought to you by Educators Worldwide. Follow, like, and subscribe to TTELT on your social media, and try a new teaching tip today.